Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to yet another interesting webinar by TeamLease. This has kind of become a ritual for us. Every Tuesday, 11 to 12, we have quite an intense conversation around taking views of the expert on how we can enable the process of putting India back to work. Just like all the previous discussions we had so far, today we have got an interesting mix of expert panelists. Today we have with us Mr. Amit Singh. Amit comes with a rich 15 plus years of experience, having worked with organizations like Tata Consultancy Services, IDFC Asset Management, and then IDFC Bank. Currently, Amit heads the HR function for Sbi Mutual Funds, which is one of the largest mutual fund organization in the country. We also have with us Vinay Trivedi. Vinay again comes with more than 15 plus years experience, having worked with organizations like Accenture, HP, Future Generali Life Insurance, Axis Bank. Currently, Vinay heads the HR for a very interesting fintech startup, ToneTag. And last but not the least, we also have with us Mr. Subhash Menon. Subhash comes with 20 plus years experience, having worked with organizations like India First Life Insurance, SBI Life Insurance. Subhash currently is a CHRO for Angel Broking. Welcome all of you. Today we have a lot of experience, rather I should say diverse experience amongst today's panelists, and it's quite an insightful for all of us to have all of them on board. However, before I move ahead, I would like to set some ground rules. As we reach the Q&A session with the panelists, I'm sure all of you will have a lot of questions in your mind. I would request you all to feel free to put all your questions in the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen instead of the chat box, because that's the one we will monitor to put together all your questions so that we can respond to as many as possible. Without further delay, I would like to start with first set of questions. And my first question is that it's quite clear with businesses resuming, putting India back to work will be challenging. How to infuse confidence in employees and resume business operations? What new measures and protocols has organizations implemented to ensure a safe working environment? So Amit, over to you. A little bit about SBI Mutual Fund and of course your response.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Good morning, Amit. Good morning to fellow panelists, Vinay and Subhash. And good morning to everybody who is there on the webinar. I go back to around 3-4 months back when the lockdown was announced. And in fact, slightly prior to that, when obviously the COVID situation came known and people started talking about it. So I think by the time we really realized it and the lockdown came in, that's where the harsh reality kind of hit us. And at that point in time, I think it was very difficult for us to really accept the fact that, yes, there is a such kind of pandemic that has hit the world around. And one of the thoughts that came to my mind and over a period of last 3-4 months was that I, in fact, haven't really had an experience where around the world, everybody had a common point to speak about and talk about and really, in a sense that everybody is together in it, right? Of what needs to be done, how do we really need to, find solutions, what do we need to do, and all of that. So this was one single event that was being thought around, worked around, and across the world. So from the scale of it, it was quite huge. And finally, today, after 3-4 months of being in closed rooms and working from home, large part of last 4 months, we have now suddenly, when things have started to open up and we've suddenly, coming and thinking that we'll be now back to normal. there are two things that are happening, which we started earlier also. So there is a sense of fear, but there is also a sense of belief, right? I think organizations to a certain degree are working towards solving these two parts. Okay. So as you are saying that, how do we return back normal? I think we need to be able to solve the fear part of it. Okay. I think the belief is already there that things will become normal. I think all of us have already traveled the distance as part of the pandemic, right? So, so being an organization which is in financial services, we are a mutual fund house. So for us, it's like, reaching out to, and we are primarily into a B2B space. We don't reach out to customers directly unless the customers reach out to us through any of the digital channels, which could be a website or an app or maybe a few other mediums that are there. So for us, it was always managing our key stakeholders, reaching out to them and ensuring that they hear from us on a regular basis. I think that's something which currently continues for us. There is no disruption on that. One of the other big things that happened for us is that there was a belief at the start of it that we will never be able to work fully from home. Okay. And somehow that belief got, thrashed on the way, so to say that, yes, we are perfectly fine to work from home 100%. So today, the same set of people who in the initial 15, 20 days were very reluctant to work out of home, today are very reluctant to come back to work. So it's a very difficult situation to, from an HR point of view, clearly. So we were pushing people away, don't come to work. And now we are dealing with a situation where we're saying, okay, I think we should be coming back to normal. The government regulations allow 10%, 15% people in office, but yes, that's a situation that we're dealing with. So we have the necessary infrastructure, tools, technology to support, things in place. I think workplace safety measures are very important as we start to get people onto our offices. Some of these have already been clearly specified by government. A few of those is something which we have taken care of. I think employee wellness is of paramount importance. So how do you really build confidence of people to say that, okay, we'll take care of you, right? While you're in office, we will ensure that things will be all right for you, your family. So as an organization, we have taken multiple steps on that. We have a 24/7 helpline for employees, family members. We provide all kind of financial support to employees in case there is somebody who's tested positive, all kind of supports towards any quarantine centers that are there. So almost like everything is covered under the sun for employees to be very comfortable and confident that they'll be taken care of by the organization. Any kind of financial support or anything that is needed is provided. And I'm talking about both, even to an extent of a contract staff working with us. So everybody feels pretty secure. Otherwise, we follow all the necessary protocols that are there within the organization, sanitization, social distancing norms, keeping a certain percentage of people on a rotational basis. Not the same set of people need to come to work on any given day. So avoid meeting the same set of people every day. So some of these necessary protocols have been put in place with us. So so my sense is that it's going to become normal over a period of time. We don't mandate as of now everybody, or we don't force people to be in office. But yes, there are certain set of voluntary decisions that also being asked from employees, and we have seen a fair degree of positive results emerging out of that. So that's my take.
I think it's interesting when the fear is that in whichever way we can contribute and support the employees. So moving on, let me bring Vinay. So Vinay, from a ToneTag perspective, it's a fresh startup, and there is quite a different impact, which COVID has bring in. So if I may want to know, what are the new measures and protocols that you are implementing, for a safe working environment? I think, employees at ease is very important. And if you look at, I think fintech is one which, disrupted this thought of working from home vis-a-vis the traditional financial services organization. I think traditional organizations were always looking at security, confidentiality of data and, data loss that can happen. But I think fintech is the one which, came out confidently and probably, are the ones which were accepting work from home in a better way. Now, how do you see the measures and protocols that you would implement to get employees back to work, as in back to office?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having ToneTag over here for this conversation. I think because I also have spent some time in BFSI specifically, I'll also give a perspective on BFSI, and fintech obviously has been at the forefront, or the startup ecosystem has been at the forefront of experimenting a lot of new things that a lot of other industries are now actually implementing thanks to the pandemic. What has happened is especially in the BFSI setup, because it's a traditional mindset, a lot of trust deficit issues that used to be there when people would ask for either working remotely or working from home have suddenly disappeared, have totally vanished from the BFSI ecosystem. So I think one of the boons that the pandemic has done to the BFSI segment is logical functioning of roles. A lot of roles in the future which can work from home will be allowed to work from home. They're no longer going to be very rigid, which is definitely a good thing as far as trust building is concerned. Employees do not have to worry about their employers not trusting them. So the trust factor, logical thinking has accelerated. And to think of it, a lot of it, all the leaders knew, but they never took that call because there is something that is going on. Let that continue. Don't, shake the apple cart. It's too much of data security, all of these things which we talk about have existed, will exist, and, are
always
also being done, right? But people have moved in that direction. So I think a lot of these adoption that has happened is thanks to the pandemic. I think to instill further confidence in our people, what is critical is discipline. We know what needs to be done. We know how it needs to be done. Be it rotational shifts, be it lesser number of people coming in, be it maintaining certain physical distancing required to ensure your safety and security. So what will work to put India back to work is really how disciplined are we going to be? And HR will have to, HR suddenly becomes the principal of a college. HR becomes the friend, philosopher, guide. To reprimand, we look up to HR. To motivate, we look up to HR. So we have to stand to ensure that we discipline our people, because the minute you are loosening that, you will start losing confidence of people, because it will create a havoc. So discipline is going to be critical in our restart to how we get our people back into work. And at ToneTag, we are, for us, it was really never that big an impact in the sense from a working style perspective. There was a business impact because of lockdowns and everything else, but otherwise, we pretty much are working seamlessly, and there doesn't seem to be anything which is not normal for us. So that's how we are sort of managing. That's my view, really.
Right. No, I think interesting, because I think a lot of organizations immediately activated their BCP plan, right? Saying, and typically BCP plan are more IT oriented, saying, if one office, at one location shuts down, the other will start off. But I don't know, many people never imagined that, if all locations shut down, what typically happens. But I think we all have done reasonably well, to handle the situation. So Subhash, coming to you, you have seen an interesting duration in your, in your life with, insurance industry. I mean, while many companies or industries did get some time to be at home for 10-15 days and then figure out, what plan, rosters, and all of those things will kind of work, whether we should go back to office or not. But from an insurance industry perspective, I mean, it was an essential service. At least some part of that was essential service. So how different, you think this is your understanding from insurance to a broking? What kind of different impacts, were there, and what steps you think, HR leaders should take to install confidence in people? I mean, and both are very different, right? I mean, insurance, you are essential services, so you have to be at the forefront, but while in broking, your experience would be quite.
We were working throughout the lockdown.
Oh, great. So
Never closed. Yeah. So great question, Amit. I think thanks, Amit and Vinay, to give some perspective to this question. So I'll take a couple of minutes to explain about the angel broking. So many people might not know angel broking. What is it? So angel broking, we call ourselves as a 30-year-old startup company. Okay. Right now. So four years back, we were a physical organization with around 200 offices pan India, and we are a trading organization, stockbroking company, retail stockbroking. We are not into institutional or HNI segment. We are purely retail. So we used to have 200 offices, and if you want to trade, we used to have a model called call and trade. Okay, and we used to acquire around 5,000 customer a month. Okay, I'm talking about 4 years back, with around 6,000 odd employees. Okay, then we moved from a physical world to a phygital world. When I say phygital, is basically digital as well as physical world. Physical world existed, but we started a mobile app for trading where customers started trading. So when we ended the year 2019, I'm talking about March 2019, we started acquiring around 15,000 customer a month. Okay, my 60% of transactions started happening digitally on the mobile. 40% still remain physical on the physical world. Okay, then we moved from a journey from a phygital world to a digital world. Okay, so when we ended March 2020, I'm talking about in the month of March 2020, we acquired more than 1 lakh customer a month in the month of March. Okay, when the pandemic started off in India, we acquired more than 1 lakh customer a month. Okay, and as we stand today, my 99% of my transaction happens digital. Okay, 99%. In the month of June, I have acquired almost 1,50,000 customer. Okay, with my entire sales force working from home. Okay, so rather what we have done, so this is the background of angel broking. So when this pandemic hit, okay, so we looked as an opportunity. So we were looking at this number pre-COVID, we were looking these numbers, it will take at least 1 year's time for us to reach to this number. Post-COVID, it was happening in that particular month itself. Okay, when this announcement happened on 24th or 25th of March, okay, we immediately, as Amit mentioned, so initially there was a struggle how to make it, set it up, entire people. So what we did, we took a conscious call as a company. Okay, initial weeks we were checking, we were also looking at productivity. Okay, how the productivity can come and all the stuff. We launched various tools. We used Darwinbox as a HRMS tool to connect with people. We use Slack for the collaboration. We use various tools like project management tools and everything where we connect employees digitally. So when we looked, the productivity is coming. When the productivity started coming out, we as a company took a conscious call. Okay, we announced, irrespective tomorrow pandemic goes, there is a vaccination comes. As a company, we have announced it is work from anywhere. Okay. So people can work from home, people can work from cafe coffee day, people can also come to office. But coming to office, there will be some protocols because the government has set some protocols and various stuff. What we did further, people who were working on desktops, okay, we shifted the desktop to their residence. Okay, we have given furniture allowances. Those people, okay, to buy a furniture because many people doesn't have to keep a desktop. People who are having a laptop, we provided laptop, desktop. We have given a furniture allowances and so on. So what we have done is we have taken this as an opportunity. Okay, So for us, to answer your question, Amit, we are already back. We were never off. Okay, we were never off. So we were always there. So we did those proactive measures to ensure that the things are happening. Okay, so that's where.
Right. No, I think interesting. So Amit, in contrast to what Subhash is mentioned, right? So in March was a great month, and of course June, like he mentioned, about 1.5 lakh of customers. Unlike broking, right? I mean, while everything is going down, I think the stock market have kept on going up, and thanks to Subhash and company. But I mean, whereas in mutual fund, it's a very different kind of investment, and it requires a lot of knowledge sharing. From a sales perspective, when they go and meet customers. And of course, there is a change which pandemic has brought on those lines. Now, how are you reviewing this crisis, and how are you planning the road to recovery? In terms of how the new normal for a mutual fund as an industry you think will look like?
Amit, I think from a business point of view, I think I said earlier, it's I won't say that everything is as it was prior to COVID, prior to March. I think there is some degree of disruption that has happened.
Can I request you to speak a bit loudly?
Yeah, there is a sense of there is some disruption that has happened. I think not everything is normal at this point in time. That's what we call as new normal. Okay. Now, in a mutual fund space, I think the important factor is that we deal with people's money. Now, how important it is for somebody to see an individual and then park his money with us. Okay. That's a question that will vary between individual to individual, right? So how many people would really want to come onto our website and say that, okay, I want to, today put my money into a fixed duration fund, or maybe an equity fund, or maybe a debt fund, and possibly just know the fund manager, or not being able to speak to anybody, right? So we have various mechanisms that we have built out. So prior to March, there was already certain partner portals that were already active. We used to do a lot of trainings with our distributors, IFAs, and financial intermediaries that we used to do business with. Now, a lot of those channels and trainings were physical to a certain point in time. Now, a lot more focus has been built around using a lot of collaboration tools, these partner portals, to provide those kind of trainings to our partners. One of the realizations that has happened is that in a physical space, you can cover maybe 100 set of people at one point in time, maybe 50 people, right? And you need to do it at various places. We are spread across the country, 300 locations, almost like every single state and city we are there. Now, suddenly the realization is there. Actually, you can, through digital channels, you can actually reach out to the entire country, entire set of partners at one go, right? So there are clear ways and realizations that have happened, which also brings to the fact that some of these things were not used earlier, right? So there is clearly a lot more productivity that you can derive. You can pass on the message, which is slightly better and more consistent across your partners. So there is a clear channel of certainty that you can build around your partners. For the end customer, obviously, so the intermediary needs to go back to the customer and give him comfort that you should put your money into the mutual fund. Now, that's where there is still some degree of struggle, how effectively the IFA has built its digital channel, or his financial advice. He may have a shop somewhere, in a marketplace, and he has an office somewhere, a small office, which is currently not functional. Now, he doesn't have all the necessary tools to reach out to the end customer, right? The banks are also one of our intermediaries. So they are fully functional. So there is still some degree of work that keeps on happening through banks as an intermediary. But large part of our retail channel, which happens through financial advisors and all of that, currently takes a bit of a hit because of the intermediaries also not being really prepared to deal with these kind of situations. So to a certain degree, one of the things that we are trying to do is to also provide them necessary training and tools and developing certain efficiencies at their point of presence to build out our business. So that's something which is happening. There is a lot more communication that is reaching out to the end customer through our communication portals. It could be emails, it could be our website, it could be apps, it could be various other methods that you largely depended on. So that's something which has which we are right now using. One of the other things is while we are really dependent on the intermediaries, at the end of the day, you also need to be very sure about how employees are really productive in this kind of environment, right? So how do you really get your employees functioning very well from home? Are they able to reach out to their customers in a realistic manner? So today I may have a relationship manager who can go out and meet 5 people in a day. Today he can't do that, right? So as Subhash clearly highlighted earlier, he should be provided all the necessary tools that are in place to be able to be as effective or maybe equally effective in running his business. Now, this also cannot happen consistently across all the cities. So that's again, in a spread out business, you can provide a lot more comfort to certain cities, but you will not be able to provide the same kind of comfort in possibly very remote locations and people who are based out of those locations. Sometimes bandwidth is an issue. You're sitting at a place where you just can't connect with people. So, so those are some of the situations that you need to be prepared with. You need to provide solutions to still effectively run your business around those situations. You will also be in a situation where you will find employees, as you start opening up, you'll find employees testing positive. Okay? You face that kind of situation. So you're running a normal course of business, you're running your rotation schedules, while there is an option for people to be in office or home. If you are in office, how do you, and we also depend a lot on physical collection of forms. So there's an end customer who comes to the intermediary, submits the form, he's not very comfortable putting his money through a digital channel. So what do you do? How do you collect the forms? Your intermediary is not ready to collect the form somewhere. So you need to provide a person who can go out and collect the form and get the money deposited, right? That's a very realistic situation that we deal with. And running some of these operations, you'll find that employees are really testing positive, you can't avoid it. So how do you really build a mechanism where people are being taken care of in these situations? So that's one of the big pieces that you should be really taking care of as an employer and be close to the employees. So some of these things I think are the realistic things that we deal with while we are running our business.
So when I, coming back to you, at one side, business would want to go all out and, start the operations. At the other side, I think, HR have to play a very important, balancing roles. From moving from, actual HR to HR business, partner. So how are we looking at reimagining the future of role of HR while, assisting in business continuity and fluidity with new norms?
I think HR should have been obsolete by now, and every business team should have taken charge of the people function. So what happens from time to time when we start looking at reinventing the HR, a lot of crisis turns into opportunities, and HR normally is at a forefront of turning those crises into opportunities. That's what has happened even during the pandemic. It's not that HR was not possibly telling their businesses that we could work differently. There are alternate ways of doing business. You could start pushing things in a different way. But we were never really, being taken very seriously. Now, suddenly when the pandemic hit and they realized that business needs to go on, a lot of HR folks turned into business partners and trusted advisors. But what we need to also understand is that as our fabric is very social as human beings, we are not asocial people. So we will get eventually back to pre-COVID times, maybe in a year and a half, 2 years, and only talk about it as stories saying that there was a COVID era when we did all of this. But critically, what works for businesses today and how HR needs to really support, there's actually an opportunity where the consumer behavior also is now changing. A lot of times a consumer would demand to meet the salesperson in person, especially in the BFSI segment, where they want to invest in something or buy some product, or while there are digital online channels, but a lot of customer base would insist on meeting at least once. That is no longer going to exist in a large context. So a lot of people will be comfortable digitally, which means digital adoption is at a all-time high, which is why edutech companies are also growing. So there's a lot of acceptance suddenly. We've accelerated. So HR should use this opportunity to ensure that the right communication, which Amit was also mentioning, training, you can actually reach out to so many people at one go and consistently give messages. Customers will start reading your messages because now they no longer wait for a salesperson. So a lot of these things are opportunities for HR from reinventing the learning and org development wheel, which they should do to partner with businesses to help them grow.
Absolutely. I think HR definitely deserves the seat on the table. I pity the organization who have not done that, because I think in the technology and process, people also play a very important role for the growth. So Subhash, over to you. As in, if we look at organizations, one are of course reviewing the crisis, planning the road to recovery, and this thing. And you already mentioned in your opening remarks that for you the work was as usual. I mean, you never actually went back in a lockdown kind of a situation. But if you have to step back and evaluate the future of work. Apart from the things that you mentioned, that people will be given a flexibility to work from home and this thing, what do you think will primarily change? Because one aspect do come in from a employee perspective. What kind of employee engagement programs that you think will shape up in future? Because I mean, all this while employee engagement program was largely cutting a birthday cake or having a Christmas and a Diwali fun at office. But how do you think that will span out in future?
Yeah. So good question. So we have already started thinking on that angle. So I'll give you two perspectives. One is from a business perspective, from a customer point of view, and one is from the employee's point of view. Okay. Let's understand. Let's you, me, everybody who is there in this webinar today. I'm pretty sure everybody is using Swiggy, Zomato, Amazon, Flipkart, right? That's what is happening, right? Everybody who's there in this, everybody, and people across. So understand one thing, guys, it's basically once the customer gets used to the digital side of it, okay, he is not going to come back to the physical world. Okay, it never happens. That's the background of it. Okay, businesses have to understand that. If businesses are still thinking we are going to go back to the physical world, save them. Okay, because the entire retail, entire customer, like it's including you, me, everybody, we have got used to the digital world, sitting in the place, ordering everything wants to be on the mobile, everything has to be digital. People are getting used to it. The new generation which is coming up, okay, which have seen this kind of a scenario. So I always call it as AC and BC, after COVID and before COVID. Okay, for me, that's how I narrate to my team and this thing. So AC is a change. So if I look at my kid, who is just 14 years old, I'm pretty sure for her, she doesn't want to go out anymore. Okay, she knows everything and everything has to be done. By the time they grow up, if the businesses are not ready digitally, they are just going to fly. They are just going to fly. So that's what, from a customer point of view, it is. Okay, customer wants everything on the fly. Okay, on the digital. They don't want to go and visit any stores or anything. Now coming to the employee side of it. Okay, at the same time we are saying, okay, everything is digital. People are working from anywhere. How to keep them engaged? Okay, so that's why like we said, okay, we started practicing various aspects, how to collaborate with people. We continuously doing town halls. Okay, where I myself do town hall every 2 months. The function heads are doing town hall every month, so that the connect is happening. We have announced, okay, people can work, any meetings has to happen between 9:30 to 6:30. No other meetings after that. After 7 o'clock, no calls. People have to have time. We said, okay, there has to be a compulsory leave, because what we realized, 3 months people have not taken any leave. Okay, so we have come out with a policy where people have to take leaves. Okay, there's no choice. People have to take leave. People can't start accumulating the leave. People have to take mandatory leaves, which is compulsory every quarter, 3 days mandatory leave. You will have to take it. Okay, so those are the things. Plus, we have started like Fundu Fridays, where a couple of hours for yoga sessions, so various connections. So we have taken Zoom, so everybody can come. From a collaboration point of view, where people can come, we have started design labs. Okay, innovative labs. Okay, where cross-functional team can, we are giving the problem statement, so that they come together, they start collaborating on the problem solving. It's more of an idea generation, creating from a customer problem trying to solve. So we are trying to do digitally to trying to engage those people. So usually we have our annual awards, which is to be happening every April or May. We do that. So we have also done that digitally. So that's how we are connecting with the this thing, because at this point of time there's no physical world which exists. I'm not. That's what, as a company, we have taken that call. We are saying it is work from anywhere, irrespective of pandemic goes away, because this is not going to end. Even tomorrow, the vaccine comes up. This 130 million population, to get the vaccination, it will take at least minimum another 2 years time, 2 to 3 years time. So it is not going to end over here. So businesses have to start realizing that stuff. And from a customer point of view, that's what our belief is. Customer once gets adopted to the digital world, it's you, me, everyone. It's an habit, right? I'm pretty sure everyone out here who is there in the panel, they're not going back to the physical world and to buy certain things. They're going to buy online. And the new millennials are used to such kind of a stuff. So that's how we like to engage with the customer. And this is how we like to engage with the employees.
So Amit, I just had a point. So just taking it ahead from what Subhash mentioned, I think the real essence of running some of these engagement programs is primarily to drive connectedness. Right, in our kind of business, which is a spread out business, 300 locations, I think I never realized that how do I bring all my 300 locations, all the employees together on a single platform. So like Subhash is mentioning, if you really do a Fundu Friday, right? Is it localized? Is it happening in corporate office? Is it happening in a Bangalore office? Is it happening in a Chennai office? Or is it happening in a Delhi office, right? So there is a lot of localized thing. Now you imagine a scenario where you have, we are a 1,200 employee company, you have 600, 700 employees logging in, doing it all together. It was not at all possible earlier. We were only able to think about it and do it today. Now it is extremely pleasing for an HR person to have 700, 800 people, or maybe lesser or higher numbers connected together. That's the real discovery that has happened. I'll like to talk about a talent show that somehow just happened with the team, with us. And it was a huge success. We never were able to discover and know that there is a great singer and a great dancer and somebody who has a full setup of a studio at home, and he sings like a professional singer. And we did these live shows, and there is finally some 5-6 people who actually became winners. Now, this is a pure discovery. There were people who were avid photographers. We never knew. The guy is sitting out in Orissa, Bhubaneswar, doing his daily sales calls. So it gives a huge flip to the fact that we can get people together. right? So that's the big gain that has happened. Another very important point from connectedness itself is the two-way communication. So how do you really talk to people? So that starts right from leadership. What do you really communicate to them? Regular communication. Today, there are daily calls that you can organize. You can do weekly calls. You can get people to have 15 minutes, 20 minutes of interaction. We are as an HR team just reaches out to people, just have a normal conversations, informal conversations, not talk about business, not talk about anything. Just so easy to do that. Otherwise, we were always dependent on saying that when to take a flight, when to go out, when to meet my guys. I don't have plan. I have these many meetings lined up. It's just become so much more realistic to say. So to an extent, it is like no more excuses. Let's go and connect with your employees. So and it can all be possible. So I think that's
absolutely. Absolutely. I think you're right. I think somewhere the, with this digital world, and I was, talking to one of my group company, which, School Guru, they are into online learning, pre-COVID, like, which Subhash mentioned, BC, before COVID.
We have lost you.
I think some network issue.
Yeah, some network issue. Anish, you're there? Anish?
Yeah, hi. I think that was, Amit must have frozen right now. Hi, Subhash. Hi, Amit. Hi, Vinay. This is Ritu.
Hi,
Hi, Ritu. Hi.
Hi. So I think let's just wait for him to come back, or you can continue the conversations and I'm sure he'll come back in a bit.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we can take the questions. I think I could see some questions which have come. So we can.
While we read through the questions, I'll just add a point on an interesting employee engagement practice that we've had in the organization that has worked, and it definitely works remotely very well for people. We have a habit of once a week gossip meeting where all of us meet together for 30 minutes and actually do not transact business. And we genuinely do not transact business. It really has done 2 or 3 things for us as an organization. One, a lot of times there are these murmurs that happen in corridors, which suddenly is out in the open and we can nip it in the bud. Second, it also creates a whole different environment where there is so much trust that starts building it. Given that everybody is now working remotely, it's even more important to have these, because you no longer get people to have those corridor conversations or meet over a drink, meet over a cup of coffee, meet in the evening. It is dangerous if you start looking at it very seriously. So we never hold anybody accountable for bringing out a gossip, but we just started enjoying it, and we've been doing this for 2 years, and it has worked, very well. You should try this. You will see the engagement levels just shoot up in your teams. It may seem very unconventional, but works because gossip is very healthy.
Oh, absolutely. I think, one of my favorite books is Sapiens. And from that book, I think if you dig deep, you'll understand why we Homo sapiens survived as against Neanderthals. While I don't think he explicitly stated so, but he essentially said the difference of us surviving while Neanderthals was on account of the fact that he believed in community. Homo sapiens like living in community, their ability to tell stories. Now, narratives and stories is what we all survive on and what inspires us. And somewhere gossips, what we call gossips, are essentially those stories which help us get involved. I mean, help us become involved beyond being mechanical at our workplace. And Vinay, I'm so glad you brought it up. It's invaluable. Yes, I think one of the biggest challenges with COVID, I know we are getting used to remote working, work from home, but we need conversations, we need touch, we need to see faces, we need to read expressions. So great that you brought it up. Okay, our host is back. Amit, over to you now.
Thanks, Ritu, for pitching in. I'm sorry, I think I just got logged out. Yeah, so just so while we while we move ahead in the discussion, I have couple of questions. So I mean, if we are looking at work from home and it's going to be the future option, are we as a country, do we think that we are prepared from an infrastructure perspective? Is it sufficient to provide the bandwidth needed to access the various systems to enable work from home? So Subhash, would you want to take this question as to how do we think we are going to be prepared to work from home with all the infrastructure which is required?
Yeah, it's a great again a great question. So we did face those challenges initially. So infrastructure, because the thing is, there is two ways of looking at the infrastructure. One is the infrastructure, because when the people are working from home, so what has happened when the pandemic started, everybody is at home. Okay, so one is people are working from home as well as people are working for home. Okay, let's understand that, because everybody, there's no maid, nobody. So people are working from home as well as people are working for home. Okay, so that was the biggest challenge which we faced initially. Yes, the second was because then we said, okay, this is because working for home is going to next couple of months, once everything gets open, maid starts coming up, so that infrastructural problem gets resolved. Then we realized, okay, people said, Hamare paas, we don't have laptops, we don't have PCs, it is not working. We said, okay, let's distribute the desktops, the laptops, the furnitures proactively we set it across. So that way we, then we said, okay, then the bandwidth, the network, which is there. So we said, okay, Geo, we have provided Geos for each and every employee. We have around 2,200 employees. All 2,200 employees, we have provided Geos. Okay, so that let them work this thing. So that's how we have started. Yes, people still have those bandwidth issues, those still exist. I am pretty sure the Geos are working on that, and definitely in next future, in the near future, it will be done. Just to give a perspective, like we always talk about this bandwidth and everything. When I said when we started acquiring more than 1 lakh customer per month, okay, my earlier again I'm showing BC, okay, BC, my customers used to come from tier 1 cities, okay. That is AC. After COVID, my maximum customers are coming from tier 3 and tier 4 cities, and that too digitally. Are we saying there is a bandwidth issue? Then it's a mindset issue. It's more of a mindset issue. And my average age of the customer, which was 40, has gone down to 30. Okay, the millennials which is coming into it. Okay, so tier 3, tier 4 city, we are saying the bandwidth is an issue. If somebody, that's a more of a we feel is a mindset issue. That's what we believe. But yes, there is some bandwidth or some infrastructure issue, which I'm pretty sure in near future it will get resolved. And I think India is ready for that digital disruption. I think that's what, if you look at the companies who are doing good, fairly well in this COVID time, are the companies who are digitally ready. Those are the companies who are doing fairly well. So that's what I think. Yes, India is there. India is ready. I think infrastructure wise, I think it will be there in next few months or in a year's time.
Okay, so I think we have quite a lot Q&A which has come. So let me just pick some of the questions, from that. So from a candidate perspective who is still out looking for jobs, and with the situation that we are in, there are a lot of good candidates looking out for options. Now, what would be your suggestion for those candidates? I firmly believe that such pandemic creates an impression on existing people as to whether their organization is the employer for future or not. Because I mean, a lot of these employees understand whether organizations are taking right step for the people or not, and whether they will become or rather create a word of mouth about the best practices to the larger world. Now, from a candidate perspective, how do you think they should, or what steps they should take to be ready for a next job? Vinay, would you want to take that question? Saying, how these employees should be ready, for the next opportunity. Yeah, Vinay?
Sorry, I just dropped off for a second because there's a power cut.
Oh, okay. No, I was saying that what steps and candidates should.
Yeah, I heard that question. The tables have turned now. A lot of times we would keep, asking questions to candidates, and we would have doubts about how do we trust candidates. Now, candidates will have questions on how do we trust organizations, if they're really doing the right thing or not, because, things have really changed a lot. I think there are 2 or 3 key practical tips or suggestions that I could, give anybody who's looking for a job. First and foremost is to take it easy, because they're not alone. There are a lot of people who are either impacted because of this or are out in the market looking for opportunities. So blaming and beating yourself up will only mean that you are not preparing well for any opportunity that may come your way. When you're desperate, you don't do very well because you have that pressure on your head. Second thing is, don't just go ahead and do hundreds of certifications because it looks good on your profile. If there's anything that you should do with the certifications, is look at 2 or 3 implementable solutions that you've used by doing those certifications and talk about it. That'll add more credibility to how you build your profile. Third, which is a very important thing, is job search is like a process. If you have to get up in the morning and look up for opportunities and make your applications, you have to do that. If you have to apply to say 2 or 3 jobs every day, you have to, in a disciplined manner, apply to 2 or 3 relevant jobs every day. It cannot be that today I'll apply for 10 jobs and I'll stay quiet for 3 days. You need to continuously be in it. If you're doing these 3 things, in my view, getting an opportunity is not going to be a challenge. It's only a matter of time.
Okay. Yeah. I think.
Amit, I'd like to add over here one point.
Subhash,
what Vinay mentioned. So what I feel. For us, like at least for us at Angel Broking, we have started hiring employees who are entrepreneurial. Okay, because people are going to work from home, right? They're on their own. Okay.
Yeah.
You have that sort of entrepreneur to getting the things done on his own, because there will be difficulties, there will be challenges, there will be ad hocism, there will be various things. Things will not be as in place. So we require that skills. So we are looking out for those people who have that entrepreneurial skills within. So those people are going to fit into. As Vinay also mentioned at the beginning, discipline. Okay, because when you're working from anywhere, it's the discipline which matters. Like many people there are still, like in my company also, I'm pretty sure everywhere there are people feeling like pandemic is an holiday. Okay, so that discipline of getting up in the morning, having their work to be done between 9:30, whatever it is, taking those breaks in between, so that discipline has to be there. And from an HR folks perspective, at least what I feel is the things have changed from a HR perspective. It's more towards data, okay, analyst kind of stuff, because everything is digital. Okay, so how to analyze those data, because and give those people related solutions. Okay, so many folks doesn't understand HR, because now with digital, HR is getting like business used to get data, HR is getting data. How to analyze those data? Okay, HR is always like behind when it comes to data. So that's where that skill set of analyzing the data and giving the solutions from the business point of view. So that's what is the skill set, I think.
True. Interesting point. So, you're absolutely right, Subhash, because I think today HR analytics is playing an important role, with digital, doing a lot of data, getting captured through digital space. But, if you have to balance, we do come across candidates, and there is one of the question also which has come that one employee is working in essential services industry. They are taking all safety precautions which are probably required, but still the morale of the employees is kind of dipping. And of course organizations are taking all necessary steps to do a lot of employee engagement, but how do you bring out the fear as a candidate who, or as an employee who is out in the field doing all the essential service? Because from an HR analytics perspective, somewhere the emotional angle that also needs to be taken care of, saying that how do I see how employee on the field, on the road is feeling about it. So what would be your suggestion to various people on the audience on this, and what steps they think they should do to engage more with HR, to bring their points up to HR and probably then to the table of business, right? And somewhere answering, giving no to the line manager is much more difficult. It's more comforting is to go to HR and put that across, because within this MIS and HR analytics, somewhere these things at times get lost. So, so Amit, Subhash, Vinay, any one of you, I mean.
Sure.
Yeah, Vinay.
I'll, okay, Amit, you want to go ahead? I'll come later then.
Essential services, there's no, as I say, it's not a easy answer. You are, mandated by certain business reasons why you need to be open, why you need to still function in a way. Now, for us also, it's not something which is mandated, but for certain point in time, you need to have a point of presence which is operational, because there is a customer who may want to come visit the branch, give his application, and you need to be open to have that point of presence. Similarly, that's there with the banks. Now, if you imagine it's a realistic situation to deal with, why should bank employees be there, working day in, day out? Why should a health worker be there in a hospital? Okay, why should be a policeman out there on the street manning the lockdown scenario, right? So when you look and start answering some of these questions, you as an individual will also start realizing that there are certain things which are unavoidable. Okay, so you need to be part of a situation which needs to be managed, and there are no easy answers to this, right? I can talk about saying, no, it's not mandatory for you to be in office and really not required, but go and tell that to a doctor and to a nurse and to a, who are attending X number of patients on a daily basis, sometimes continuously for 36 hours, 48 hours, right? A policeman who is out there doing a duty for 24 hours continuously, managing people on the street. So it's a difficult scenario to manage. I think each individual needs to understand his or her role in this situation. There is a larger responsibility. Many times we need to look inwards rather than looking outwards to a manager and organization to come back and start answering these questions. And at least that's a philosophy that I have always articulated to my team and to people who have spoken to me about this. Take all precautions that is needed for you to be safe, your family to be safe. Ask for a helping hand, and we'll always be there as an organization to provide that helping hand, whatever is needed for you to be safe and your family to be safe. One additional thing also happens is, and this is a question that somebody asked me a long time back, and it's a very pertinent question. I may not have an answer to this still fully, which is, how do you maintain equity between a person who is working from home and person who needs to be in office? Okay, so why should somebody be there in office and why should somebody be there working from home? And it's same organization in essential services. There are a set of people who are working from home.
True.
So how do you really maintain that balance and decide that, okay, I'm perfectly fine, you should work from home, but to another individual, you come back and say, no, I think 2 days in a week, I need to see you in office, right? So these are questions that we need to answer over a period of time. At this point in time, these are more questions that we will look at keeping the individual in mind, okay? The person in mind, certain sections, functions, departments in mind. But holistically as an organization, how do you respond to some of these things over a period of time? These are realistic situations in front of us. But at this point in time, I think the individuals need to be more open to understand the situations and then take a call and move ahead.
So, yeah, Vinay.
So, HR analytics, a lot of times to me is, dealing with natural stupidity in artificial intelligence times. A lot of times we forget that we are dealing with human beings, and human beings are supposed to be dealt in a certain manner. The problem that we have here, and from whatever I have understood and I've dealt with, there are two major problems. One is a physical exertion. I mean, in essential services, especially, people are out and they're continuously are expected to deliver despite the whole world sort of being locked in. And as HR teams, we need to really see how we can give those logical breaks to our people so that they can actually refresh, reboot, and come back to work. So that is one. Second, which is more important, is the psychological exertion. I mean, they are delivering, they are going out, they are in the battlefield, and the whole world is locked in. They do not have any outlets to sort of go and let loose in the evening after a hard day's work. So psychologically, there is a huge impact. I think HR functions should start evaluating counseling services where people are heard, people are sometimes, given a soothing, comforting statements. A lot of times we can't do that as HR functions. We'll say that you have to be strong, you have to continue to do a good work, you're doing amazing. I mean, I don't think we are trained counselors. So the psychological concern, I think HR department should definitely go deep and start addressing, because these two, in my view, should definitely solve the puzzle as far as the exertion in the essential services domain is concerned, and everywhere else.
So just to add what Vinay mentioned perfectly right. It's all about the psychology of the people, like, because essential service people are working. So we realized when we started the work, we also realized in our firm, in our company, there are people burning out and everything. So what we did, we introduced one chatbot, okay, which is Amber. That's the one name. So it's a chatbot to understand the psychology of that individual. Okay. So we came to know there are people who are totally in the burnout situation. Okay. And we have provided some counseling sessions and all the stuff to those people. So that's how what Vinay mentioned. So we actually did it. So a chatbot was introduced where people gave the questions and everything. It's a chatbot, so people are feeling okay. They are having a conversation with some unique person. So the data was provided to the line managers and everything. And wherever we felt okay, there is some certain problems, so we provided some counseling and all this stuff. So I think that's what Vinay mentioned exactly.
True. No, absolutely. I think and there's an interesting question from Ashish. He talks about from a logistics perspective. I mean, there are a lot of people who are possibly not staying in their own house. They probably are working, out of a rental flat, and, don't have their own vehicles. So are there any logistic, support that organizations can provide, for getting them back to, office? Because I think everybody thinks that, it's risking to travel from a public transport perspective. So any suggestions that you can provide, which from an infra logistics perspective, employees can be.
Sure. I was talking to the HR head of Rento Mojo a couple of days back, and they have now come up with the option of setting up a home office through a rental program. So a lot of companies are warming up to actually creating a physical infrastructure, because we now realize that this is going to take longer to be back to normal than we envisioned. And it's never going to be like Subhash mentioned, it's never going to be a perfect normal, that's going to come back. So from an infra perspective, there are a lot of options that are going to be made available. And companies are also warming up to, and earlier we used to listen into shuttle services only in the IT or ITES sector. A lot of companies in the BFSI, so my wife works in a bank, they're contemplating a shuttle service to help people come to office on the designated days that they are supposed to come. So a lot of help companies will start providing when they realize they need to bring back people in a safe environment. So, but these two, setting up home offices and shuttle services, are going to be critical as we move forward.
Cool. So I think let me just quickly get onto the rapid questions. I think these are primarily the questions which will have answer in yes, no, or a number. I mean, that's how it's been drafted. So maybe I'll start with Subhash. So Subhash, over to you. So do you think we go back to pre-COVID levels of growth in this country? I mean, not restricting to angel booking, but in this country, is it 2 quarters, 3 quarters, or longer than that?
Yeah, so it will take at least a year. That's what I feel, for the industry
1 year
to
from
come back.
now.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think would there be lesser jobs in the country in next 12 months?
So this is an interesting question. So the jobs are not lesser. Okay, the skill set has changed. Okay, the jobs are still there in the companies. Okay, so that's what, if the people are believing the jobs are this thing. So that's what, like BC and AC, the jobs which were there, BC was different, and jobs which are there after AC is different. The skill set which has changed. So that's what the people have to start adopting to the new skill set to get a job. Because like, it's something like when IT started off, like computers started off, people always believe that a computer ka job chala jayega. It always increased the job, right? So that's what is going to happen. The skill set which is going to required after AC is going to be something different. People have to get aligned to that.
Yeah. True. Okay, good. So do you think the average wages will go down?
No, it is going to increase. It is going to increase. People are demanding money with those skill set. People who are demanding with those skill set, people are demanding money. It is going to go up.
So would organization have an antibiotic reaction to any arrangement which is permanent in nature? For example, office leaves or permanent employees, or a fixed compensation?
Yeah, so the thing is going to move towards performance driven, which was always there. Like I always talk about this dialogue of Sholay, "Kaam jo tum bole, daam jo hum bole." Right? So there is a famous dialogue of Sholay. So that's what is always there. So that's what people are going to demand. People are going to, this is the work, this is what is the cost which is required. Because what is happening is, people working from home, people working from anywhere, there are lots of consultancy job which will get arise. People will like to take more jobs,
gig jobs.
yeah, and they will say, okay, I'll do it within a month or 2 months. You pay me this much. That's it. So those kind of a jobs is what we foresee might get arise.
And do you think in your business there will be certain percentage of your workforce which can or will permanently work from home? And if yes, what percentage you think will be that population?
So we have already reached, we have already 95% of my people are working from anywhere. So there are still 5% because of regulatory issues. They have to come to office. Yeah.
Right. But you're saying this is going to happen,
Permanent. Yeah.
as we go along. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So coming back to you, Vinay. So when do you go back to pre-COVID level of growth in this country?
I would say Q1 of next financial year.
Q1.
Yeah.
Okay. That's about a year. And what do you think? Would there be lesser jobs in the country next 12 months?
No, I think there will be more jobs, newer industries coming in, and the gig economy that's going to flourish.
Okay. And what do you think? Would the average wages will go down?
No, I don't think as a country we've reached that stage of maturity in economy where wages can seem to go down. We are still a growing economy, so we are going to grow in our average wages. It's not going to go down.
And I mean, same question again. Will organizations have an antibiotic reaction to any arrangement which is permanent in nature? Be it office or permanent employees or compensation.
I think as human beings, our resistance to change is known to mankind. But the beauty of our psychological mind is we resist, we then get used to it, then we look at workarounds and we start adopting to it. So I think the resistance phase is gone, working around phase is gone. Now we are in that phase where we are trying to look at how we can adopt to the change. So that cycle will continue to remain in any change that comes.
Right. So you're saying, I mean, it won't be as permanent as it used to be. I mean, because I remember 15 years back when we used to hire kids, we used to tell them temporary job is better than no job. Because everybody wanted permanent job in government and, this thing. But yeah, I think post-COVID or rather AC, how Subhash mentions, you're saying it's going to be more temporary, more gig in nature. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think in your business there will be certain percentage of your workforce which will permanently work from home, and possibly you may not have an office also? I mean, maybe a shared service kind of a scenario?
So as of today, we are 100% working from home and we do not have an office. And we do not intend to anyways have a full-fledged office because we believe we are able to reach the same productivity levels or even better.
Okay, cool. So Amit, when do you think we will go back to the pre-COVID level of growth at a country level?
You said yes and no. If there is a third option of no idea, I will choose no. Okay. So I'm like not
you're right. I mean, none of us are astrologers. Yeah. I mean, but
I'm in a situation where it's an unpredictable situation, not faced anytime. I think we all are, in this situation together. I hope everything is fit and fine 6 months, 1 year down the line. But yeah, no guarantees to how things will pan out. Yeah.
And what do you think? Would there be lesser number of jobs in the country in next 12 months?
I agree with Subhash and Vinay. I don't think there is a dearth of job. Open up your LinkedIn pages and you will certainly find a flurry of jobs. In any case, increasing day by day. Every day that you open up, there are additional jobs that are posted. I don't think there is a dearth of jobs, and it won't be going forward.
And what about average wages? Will it go down?
Not really. In a sense that I think organizations will try to maintain what is already there to keep the productivity levels, motivation levels up and running. We are also, bound by certain regulatory conditions, state-wise and all of that. So some of those things are already there in place. So till the time some of those things change, we also cannot change some of those protocols that are in place. Yeah. But as you go up the pyramid in organizations, you will find that there is a plateau phase for some period of time. You'll not see wages increasing beyond or a mid to senior level of professional.
And what do you think? Will organization continue to have this antibiotic reaction on any arrangement which is permanent, and will have more flexible, jobs or more, flexi offices and compensation?
Yeah, so I think that's a reality that is already happening there. I think there are a lot more individuals and employees and people who will be ready to do short-term assignments. I think it's important that they develop niche skills. If they have their strengths, niche skills, they should bring it back to use. And a lot more people will be open to do that, get a fee and move out. There is a lot more acceptance of working from home. So it also works from that point of view. So a lot of organizations may not look at permanency. So we may have a certain project to deliver. We'll hire people for 6 months, 1 year, and then the person moves out. So there is a lot more acceptability to that kind of model that will happen over a period of time.
And both you mean both employers and employees will be?
Yes. It should be
will be
there with both.
Great. And do you think in your business there will be certain percentage of employees who will work? I mean, the workforce will continue be permanently working from home, or you think that once lockdown is gone, let everybody come back to office again? Will that be the way forward?
Yeah, so I don't think we'll be 100% working from office.
What percentage you think?
I think we possibly will have a mix, maybe 50-50 or something like that is what's going to happen, because we still will have, we run a B2B business and our partners usually run physical points of presence. So we need to have certain set of people who need to reach out. As I said, pick up applications, pick up things. People need to see us. So I think it's a mix of, a model that will be in place. There is also a very interesting thing of saying that we need to be able to define who will be in office by looking at a core set of people who have interdependencies. So it's not that you are just in office for the sake of it. So how do you really make it effective? So person A is there in office because of a person B, because of person B, there is a person C in office. There is a great interdependency that you need to derive out of people being more productively utilized when they're in office. So it will be a mixed model for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the organizations have already started doing that exercise of identifying which profile can forever work from home and which are dependent on this thing. Great. So I'm done. Thank you all for coming and being part of this panel and the webinar, and thank you to all the participants to be here. Thanks a lot. Have a great week ahead. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks, Amit. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Amit. Thanks, Subhash. Thanks, Vinay.
Bye. Thanks, Amit. Thanks, Vinay.
Thanks, Ritu. Thank you.
Thanks, Ritu.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Ritu.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.